In this table, we have our x values of -1, 0, 1, and 2, and our y values of 3, 2, and 1. So we need to find the pattern and our final value of y. So to find our pattern, we're going to need to find our change in x values and our change in y values. Our x values start at -1 and increase to 0, so we're going to add 1, and then we go from 0 to 1, which is addition 1 of 1 again, and then we go from 1 to 2, which is also an addition of 1. Now for our y values, we start at 3 and we go to 2, so we decrease in 1, and then we start at 2 and go to 1, which is another decrease in 1. So as y decreases by 1, x increases by 1. So now we're going to use this change in our x and y values to solve for our pattern. Again, we're going to start off with y equals our change in y values, which is -1, times our variable x, and then add on our change in x. So we have y equals -x plus 1. Now before we move on, let's see if this formula makes sense. When x equals -1, we're going to have y equals negative times -1 plus 1, which is y equals -1 times -1, which is 1 plus 1 equals 2. But as we can see in our graph, y has to equal 3. So therefore, this formula of y equals -x plus 1 does not work. So we have to change it. So because this formula doesn't work, let's ask ourselves, how do we get from our x value of -1 equaling our y value of 3? So using this formula of y equals -x plus 1, what do we have to add to this -x to get to 3? So let's replace y with 3, and then negative times -1, plus some value that we have to add on to get to our y value of 3. So we're going to have 3 equals 1 plus some value. To get to this value, we'll subtract 1 by both sides, and we get that value equal 2. So instead of having y equals -x plus 1, we're going to make our formula y equals -x plus 2. Now let's see if this works for our other examples. When x equals 0, let's see if our y value equals 2. So we have y equals -0 plus 2, which is y equals 2. Y equals 2 and y equals 2 in our table, so this formula of y equals -x plus 2 is our pattern for the table. So let's write our equation again up here with y equals -x plus 2, and then we're going to solve for our y value when x equals 2. So we're going to use y equals -x plus 2, but wherever we see an x, we're going to replace it with a 2. Y is -2 plus 2, which is the same as 0, so y equals 0. And then we can see if this makes sense using our pattern. Our y values decrease by 1 each time, so when y equals 1, we're going to have to subtract 1 from it, and we get our final answer of 0. So when x equals 2, y equals 0, and this makes sense using both methods.